Welcome, YouTube friends and family, to today's edition of the Wellness Homesteader, where we are going to discuss some wellness items. So I've been trying to put more wellness into my channel since I am the Wellness Homesteader. And one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of my friends or acquaintances on social media have developed the dreaded first cold of the season as true winter by the calendar approaches. Influenza, all types of things. And while we seem to be through the worst of the pandemic, I know that's a concern for a lot of people too. So it made me start thinking, and I decided, let me bring you all 7 scientifically proven potential cures. And stay tuned for just a moment. I need to give you my disclaimer. So first and foremost, I'm not a physician. I'm not your physician, and I certainly do not mean any of this to be medical advice. You must always not only do your own research, but I strongly recommend before you embark on any herbal type of home remedy that you check with your physician, because herbs can be powerful medicine. It can interact with different disease conditions, and it can also interact with medications that you're already taking. You know me. I have a book for everything, right? What's on my chin? Not really sure what that was. One of the books that I like to consult is The Backyard Pharmacy, and this is by Rachel Weaver and Myron Weaver. It is a very interesting book. It's a little bit out there. I would not take this as scientifically proven truth, but here's something I will tell you all. My dad's mother was extremely helpful to her children and to her family with her home remedies. Now, one of her home remedies, from stories from my dad, was a huge dose of castor oil in the spring. And if y'all don't know what castor oil does, you're going to have, as they say in the country, the green apple quick step. It clears out your system. We'll just say it that way, right? So I'm not advocating that. But through trial and error and her knowledge of herbs, she was able to bring some relief to her children and people in the community that were suffering from some type of ailment. Unfortunately, my grandma passed away when I was a preteen, and I did not understand the value of the information that she had. So I can't carry that on. I've had to educate myself. Actually, in later years, if you've all been here a while, you know I have been a registered nurse since 1981. I'm old. So my mindset was probably more Western medicine than it is nowadays. I'm not saying that Western medicine doesn't have its place. It certainly helped me on many occasions. Another good book, if you just want more information about different herbs, potential side effects, maybe something you want to share with your physician, the Herb Bible. This is great. It is Peter McCoy and Pamela Weston. Herb by Herb directory illustrates every popular and available herb, complete with botanical notes, cultivation tips, and a facts panel. This is more about having an herb garden than it is about any palliative or beneficial properties that an herb might have, but it is a really good book. And if you're doing some garden planning and you want to have an herbal area, this is a great way to get started. Okay, that's my housekeeping. You've had the disclaimer. Please do not take any of this information that I'm about to share, as medical advice. You need to speak with your physician after doing your own research. All right, guys, let's get into it. There are more proven by scientific research beneficial remedies than the 7 I'm going to share with you. I picked the 7 that I had the best confidence in, just to be honest, or that I've tried for myself, and I can say for me that it worked. Again, don't do what I do. Go check with your physician. So the first is, y'all know what this is? It's turmeric. And it is been proven scientifically to be good for pain and inflammation. It has been used for over 4,000 years in South Asia in their medicine practice, but it's best for pain caused by inflammation. So if you have, let's just say, post-op pain or a broken bone, it may not have the same pain relieving properties as those of us who suffer with a form of arthritis or other autoimmune inflammatory diseases like systemic lupus. And I do have some talking notes, y'all, so I'm going to have to look down because I don't want to misspeak. They did a study and they compared giving people ibuprofen who had an inflammatory process going on as compared to people who got turmeric, and it was shown to be just as effective when rated on a pain scale. It's best to take this in a supplement form. So let me tell you why. It's hot. And I love hot, spicy food. I do put tons of it in my onion broth, but I'm not eating onion broth every day. So you can buy turmeric supplements and capsules. You can buy empty capsules and fill it yourself. Let me just say this, y'all. One thing that I think makes home remedies, or even herbal remedies, if you want to call it that, a little bit dicey is the simple fact that supplements aren't regulated in the same way that drugs or medications are. So you may be buying something that isn't at all as strong as what it says, or maybe it's too strong. I would say it's probably not as strong. So the other thing to know about turmeric is it's a long game. So the recommended dosage, according to the scientific studies, was 1/2 to 1.5 teaspoons a day without any major improvement in an overall inflammatory situation for 4 to 8 weeks. And what I've found in my own personal experience, because I do use a lot of home remedies, herbal remedies, is herbs are not instant. It's not like taking an aspirin or an ibuprofen, Motrin, whatever you want to call it, to get rid of your headache. This is something that is a long game, and a lot of times you need to take it over time to really see the benefits. So what happens is a lot of times people will get discouraged, or if you're trying several different remedies, you might be like, I'm taking 80 pills a day and I just can't. I understand that as well. So the second item, and I did not pull mine out, are chili peppers for pain and soreness. Well, I think we all know that a lot of the topical rubs contain capsaicin. It works by first causing a heat reaction and then sort of a numbing effect. So there is a new prescription drug called Cuisinart, which is an 8% capsaicin. Whew, that's pretty strong, right? That you can use topically to relieve pain and soreness. Now, is this going to cure what's causing your pain and soreness? It absolutely is not. And that's why, in my opinion, I think herbal medicine or home remedies need to walk hand in hand, depending on your condition, with some Western medicine. The good news is you can make your own. Y'all, I haven't tried this yet, but I am going to. Like I said, I did a lot of research. I love doing medical research. And you can make your own by mixing 3 tablespoons of cayenne pepper, powdered. So I grew cayenne red hots. I dried them, freeze-dried them, and powdered them so that I could eat it. Not so I could put it on my body, but I'm like, hey, I got plenty. I think I'm going to do that. And you mix that with a cup of coconut oil. Now, I do want to say something. Depending on your body weight, your tolerance, some of this may feel a little bit strong. So always try anything I'm going to talk about on a small area after it's been approved by your physician. Number 3, ginger for pain and nausea. Now, I think we all know that, get upset stomachs and be like, drink a ginger ale. Well, I'm not so sure that ginger ale has any real ginger benefits, but you can buy certain products like fresh ginger, for example, but you can also buy some really good ginger teas. I forgot to pull it out. Let me grab and show you. Okay, I've got my tea caddy here. So quite a few years ago, I had a really bad cold virus, and I wanted Chinese food because I wanted something really spicy because I couldn't taste. And the gentleman, it was like at an off time, they weren't busy. He was like, I have cure for you. So he brought me some, I'll just say Asian tea that was ginger and turmeric. And I'm telling you what, y'all, it really helped me feel better. I'm not so sure that it sped up the healing of my cold, but you can buy teas that are ginger turmeric. Now, my son got me these. He actually got them for himself, and then he was like, I don't like it. One thing to note about ginger, and I do have this dilemma with it, it can cause heartburn in some people. I know it's supposed to be soothing, but if you're taking it in large quantities, the ginger, for me, can cause heartburn. But this is a great tea to try. You see the bag is stained yellow, and that's from the turmeric. So that is also another way you can take ginger. So how does it work? Like, we've heard it for nausea, but how does it work for pain? Well, I'm gonna have to read it. It blocks the formation of inflammatory compounds. So the inflammation can't develop in the first place, but it also breaks down existing inflammation through antioxidants that interact with the acidity in the fluid between your joints. Who knew? I love doing research that's scientifically based, although there's a few flaws, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, sometimes in the studies. So you can probably find a study that says all of this is bad and a study that says all of this is good. So that's why I kind of picked and chose what I was going to speak about. So you can make your own ginger tea if you can't find it, or you just want to try it. It's about 1/2 inch of ginger, 2 cups of water. They suggest 1 lemon squeezed and then honey or other sweetener, but it's recommended to be honey to taste because it's going to be pretty puckery with an entire lemon in it. I don't know if the acid in the lemon helps the ginger to be more effective. The additional vitamin C, I'm not sure why, but in the recipes that I looked up, that seemed to be maybe it makes it more palatable too. That seems to be the common way. So number 4, shiitake mushrooms. So my son has turned me on to cordyceps mushrooms in supplement form, which can really help when you're exercising. I'm not, but help to build endurance over time, in my experience. But shiitake mushrooms promote antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects at the cellular level, which is where our inflammation develops. This is kind of iffy, guys, but this is what the research says, and I'm going to tell you why I don't think it's something I would stake a claim on. Interaction with the immune system, because it strengthens it, may help fight cancer. Okay, they did that test in a petri dish. I looked it up. So I'm not sure I'm gonna base a treatment recommendation, and I'm not recommending anything. But if you're doing it in a petri dish, where's the real studies? To me, it's not. But it certainly, in my opinion, can't hurt you. So it's a fungi, it's a food, it's an edible thing, it's delicious. And the recommended dose is 5 to 10 grams chopped into preferably bone broth. But y'all, again, it takes about 4 weeks to see those immunity effects that we just discussed. Well, I have my tea box out. This is kind of an aside because we're only on number 5 of 7. I do find at least palliative, not curative, but nice effects when you're under the weather for whatever reason from a lot of different types of tea. And I do love my tea, especially in the winter. I like the Tazo flavored teas, which they have chamomile, sweet orange, Sweet cinnamon spice, that's super good. Refreshing mint, probably my favorite. Butterscotch Blondie is one of their dessert teas. Glazed lemon loaf, yum. Let's see. Passion, which is not my favorite, it's passion fruit. Yeah, that pretty much covers. But I've shared this before. Walmart sells an organic throat soother, and it is naturally caffeine free. This one happens to be organic, but y'all, it's like throat coat. It really does help numb your throat if you're suffering with a sore throat. Another one that I really like, and we're gonna talk a whole bunch more about echinacea, but since we're doing teas, I thought I would. Traditional Medicines Seasonal Wellness Organic Echinacea Plus. It promotes immune function, and this is flavored with spearmint, and it's absolutely delish. So just a few ideas, few things I do to try to keep myself well and out of the doctor's office. Need to make some capsaicin for my shoulder. So let's talk about eucalyptus oil for pain relief. So there is, and I may say this wrong, guys, there's a component in eucalyptus oil called 1.8 cineole, and that's probably wrong, Ola. That sounds very Espanol, but anyway, it can have a morphine-like effect when tested on mice. So you see what I mean about scientifically proven. You know, a mouse is really tiny, and I don't know how they could say it had, you know, they can't tell us that they have pain relief, but it has been shown to help relieve body pain, even if you're just inhaling it. So I keep a pretty good supply of, eucalyptus oil on hand. One of the things that I buy over and over and over, and thank goodness they finally came up with a great value brand, is I pretty much, well, I always get clean, but I take an Epsom salts bath almost daily. And my favorite is the eucalyptus spearmint. It smells nice. It really helps me with body stiffness and soreness and helps me to get moving. But let me tell you, eucalyptus in some people can trigger asthma. So if you have emphysema or COPD, those types of things, or asthma, you want to be really careful even with just smelling pure forms of eucalyptus. It also can be harmful to pets or infants. So, you know, I've thought about diffusing eucalyptus because you've all seen my diffusers. I love the fact that I can diffuse various essential oils, makes your house smell good. And to me, they have some beneficial properties. Just be very, very careful if you have infants, babies, or pets, or anyone in your house has a respiratory type disease. Number 6, lavender. And it is primarily touted for relieving migraines and anxiety. So let me tell you all, I don't get headaches, but a very rare occasion, like not even one a year. I'm very blessed in that respect. But because of some research that I've read, I put the lavender buds, which I'm now growing lavender, in my chickens' laying boxes. And I think it really helps them relax. Some of my chickens go in, poop the egg, they're out. Other of my chickens roost in there forever before they finally manage to divest themselves of the eggs. So studies have shown that it helps with migraines, decreasing anxiety and restlessness, and sleep. Now, one of the recommendations that I read was lavender tea. If you've all ever eaten anything, because lavender can be in some high-end desserts, it can taste just like soap. It's very, very, very floral. I personally could not drink lavender tea. I could make a lavender sachet or lavender soap. That would be perfectly fine. One of the things to know about lavender, because lavender is kind of a common herb, if you will, and I've watched a lot of people make a variety of products from essential oils, and they think more is better. lavender is one of those. Even though it's very common, it can irritate the skin if you put it on without diluting it. So if you've ever purchased anything Young Living, you know it comes with a disclaimer about diluting things and not applying it because they're pure directly onto your skin. What I can tell you is if you burn yourself, if you immediately put some lavender oil on it, in my experience, the burn doesn't blister up and it heals much, much faster. I've used it full strength on a finger. It's never caused me a problem, but the recommendation is always dilute. You can start with a mild amount of lavender in your dilution and increase it to tolerance, according to research. Not giving you medical advice. And then the final thing in my 7 is mint for muscle pain and digestion. Now, you've all been somewhere where you pass somebody old like me in the grocery or the Walmarts, and you're like, ooh, they took a bath in, Bengay or icy hot. And what you're smelling generally is the mint component in those preparations. So, wintergreen essential oils are in a lot of those preparations at the proper dilution. And the reason that it is thought to work is it has methyl salicylate. So salicylates are like aspirins. They're like non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. So it works similar to a capsaicin. So a lot of times they combine the two. So the sensation that you get is cool, burn, numb, to decrease pain and muscle spasms. There are many types of mint. Now, I personally love the scent of spearmint, but I always have peppermint essential oil. And you'll notice, y'all, I'm not pulling out my Young Living stuff. These are my soaping or product making essential oils, which I buy in quantity. Peppermint can help irritable bowel syndrome. And I'm like, who knew that, right? So that's why I like the mint tea. It helps by decreasing spasms, slowing down diarrhea, and relieving abdominal pain. So there are, in my opinion, plenty of home remedies that you can give a try to with your physician approval to help you through any mild, minor illness. Always do it under your doctor's advice. Now, I did say we're going to talk a little bit about elderberry. So I am very blessed in that elderberry grows wild in my area. My neighbor behind will harvest trays, which I then freeze dry and vacuum seal and then turn into elderberry syrup. Now, if you're looking for how to make this, I have 2 videos, an older one and a newer one that I believe I made about a year ago, and they're all in my wellness playlist. So elderberry has a lot of good compounds, in my opinion, when taken daily. Again, herbs are not like this, that can really help you, in my opinion, strengthen your immune system and ward off colds. If you happen to get a cold, you can take this as much as like a spoon once an hour to help relieve your cold symptoms. I haven't, let me knock on wood, had a cold in a few years. Thank you, Jesus. Or a couple years anyway. But it's time to start taking it. We're inside more. There's a lot of breaks for kids from school. So if you're shopping, you might be exposed to a lot of children. And we all know that kids do this and then wipe it on themselves. So there's airborne germs, there's touch-based germs, there's all kinds of germs. And I'm not a germaphobe. However, not working anymore since I've retired as a nurse, I'm not exposed to all of those germs. One of the things that I find completely amazing is when I did work, I can't tell you the number of times that we have had facilities, because I was always corporate, well, not always, mostly corporate, shut down. It's an Ohio state regulation where if such and such a % of people are showing symptoms, you have to quarantine the facility. So that means no visitors, et cetera, et cetera. where we've had true outbreaks of cultured influenza virus. I have never had influenza, even though I cared for those people, I observed universal precautions, and I never developed influenza. And I've also, and this is a personal choice, never had an influenza vaccine. And if y'all aren't in the United States, this may not apply to you. In the US, the influenza vaccine is still preserved with thimerosal, which I have an allergy to. But if you've never had influenza, why would you start taking vaccines? That's always been, kind of my take on it. Now, I will say, one time, I did get something, I never got tested, that had influenza-like symptoms, but I was traveling and it was an out-of-the-country plane situation and the plane wasn't clean, and the person traveling with me, a coworker, also developed the same illness. So I don't even count that because I wasn't tested, but I was exposed over and over and over again. So having a little bit of bioburden or germ burden is not always a bad thing. Just do what you can, in my opinion, to strengthen your own immune system. I hope today's video has been informative and helpful. I know it's a setting video. Y'all, I'm gonna tell the truth. So yesterday I was talking to my son. He's such a hoot. As a first-time homeowner, he has learned so much, y'all, in the last 6 months about repair work and maintenance and things like that. And we got talking about furnaces and gas bills and electric bills and such. And all of a sudden I was like, I wonder when I changed my furnace filter last. I'm embarrassed, y'all. I have a huge box filter system that only has to be changed every 6 months. And I'm sure you can hear my heat cranking. So, and I've even used it for 6 months and then taken the vacuum cleaner, cleaned it off, probably not recommended. But when I looked, it had been a year. So I buy them in bulk and I store them on a top shelf in the garage. And while trying to retrieve that, I kind of hurt my shoulder again, y'all. I mean, it's not unbearable, but it's challenging. Things like trying to cross your arms to pull your shirt above your head. And my son's like, why don't you just pull it from the back? And I'm like, because it stretches the neck out. Difference between males and females, right? There's just certain things that are still painful to do. So it's going to take, it can take months and months to heal. So, I'm going to make sure I'm taking my physician-approved vitamin and mineral supplements and staying as healthy as I can. And I wish the same for you all this winter. I hope you stay well and healthy. And, use the universal precautions, y'all. The number one reason people get sick is they don't wash their... sorry. I'm drinking out of my Circle bottle, and every once in a while it makes a kind of a naughty noise, right? That was not me. That was the Circle bottle. Hold on, guys. Please excuse my old lady blonde moment where I forgot what I was saying. Hand washing. Super important. The best defense against catching a cold is not to touch your face. It's kind of the same things we heard during the pandemic. If you want to use hand sanitizer, I always have a hand sanitizer everywhere. Because you don't have access to soap and water, that's fine too. But make sure you're keeping your hands washed. If you're in a situation where there's a heavy germ burden, so let's say you go to a facility to visit a loved one, seems to be always a lot of colds and influenza in those environments. And y'all, I went every day when my mom was there, and I never caught anything. And I can't tell you the number of times they were on visitor limitation, not total restriction, because of the virus. So wear a mask if you need to, y'all. It's become so much more widely accepted to wear a mask. I still have masks in my car. I keep them there in case I'm going to be going somewhere where someone has, an obvious illness. If you're ill yourself, y'all don't go out and spread the love. One of the things that really used to aggravate me about work when I worked in the corporate office It was a big square, and you could literally watch the germs go down the row, around the corner, back down the other row, and eventually everybody had it, and then they gave it back to the first person who hadn't developed adequate immunity. And I always thought that had a lot to do with machinery that we used, the same, like copy machines, or well, we didn't really use fax machines. The mailbox area, the lunchroom, things like that, the microwave, the coffee maker. And back then, y'all, I would occasionally catch, as it rounded the corner, I would catch what was going around because the germ burden was just so heavy. So don't be afraid to put on your mask. Don't be afraid to wash your hands a lot. Don't be afraid to disinfect surfaces if you are using a common area with other people. So I hope those little basic principles will keep us all healthy and well and blessed for the rest of the season. I plan on seeing you all on Thursday. I plan on doing something Christmassy, y'all. Today I'm wearing, and this is kind of a funny thing, I thought this shirt was really cute. It says Mary as a mother. Now, I was taking it as all mothers are merry around Christmas time because they want to do stuff for their kids and their pets and their friends. And Ben was like, you know what that really means, right, Mom? And I was like, no. And he was like, married as a mother, fill in the blank, guys. I certainly wouldn't say it. And I'm like, okay, so this shirt is an inside the house shirt. So I actually got this last year, and I had gone to get a chicken because we were gonna put diapers, masks on the chickens and let them come in for Christmas because I'm just crazy that way. And the first thing that happened was I picked up Jolene and she pooped all the way down my sweatshirt, which actually came out. But I was like, well, even Jolene doesn't like the sweatshirt. You always try to leave you with the funny. Some days are funnier than others. It's very, very cold here. It is 13 degrees. I have a heater disc for the chickens. Even on the heater disc, it had formed like an ice ring on the outside. I've given them food, put a little extra scratch in there for them because it's higher in protein. They are only coming out for just short times out of the night nesting box because it's been windy and very cold. I will say Fancy Ray is starting to look pretty normal. Jolene still looks a bit bedraggled, but I can tell that they're really starting to fill out. And I can't wait to show you Winona, guys. She is fat and sassy and has grown a ton. I can't believe how big she's gotten. So I plan to see you on Thursday with something Christmassy and fun. But until then, be healthy, be well, be blessed, and take care.